Ego is composed of the somatic and the psychic factors. The somatic is the physical self, our body, while the psychic relates to our inner self, our mind. Both the somatic and the psychic have conscious and unconscious factors. The ego's main characteristic is our individuality. That is part of our consciousness. However, it is only one part of the personality and not the whole of it. The remaining part is composed of the unconscious. The sum of the conscious and unconscious is what Jung calls the self, which makes up the total personality of an individual. To achieve the self, Jung's central concept revolved around what he called individuation, or self-realization, a lifelong process of distinguishing the self out of each individual's conscious and unconscious elements. This he believed to be the main goal of human psychological development. Now we delve into what Jung considered the most important part of ourselves, the unconscious.
The unconscious. The things you do, right? It's like an unconscious kind of thing.
Is where we encounter the persona, shadow, anima, and animus, which have the most disturbing influence.
I keep seeing this anima and animus, and I really like this band named Tool. I don't know if you ever listened to Tool.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yes, I've heard of them.
I've
heard their songs.
Their music is like mathematics. They use all these weird time signatures, and the one album is called Enema. I think it's called one of these, and that whole album has so much to do. Now I understand with his concepts. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Influence on the ego, the persona. The persona is known as a conformity archetype. It is an element of the personality.
All right, so this is an interesting picture here. So we have the persona, right? So this would be the personality, then you have the consciousness behind it, so it would be the awareness, and then the shadow is the body or the rest. So it's interesting. The persona is the mask that you put onto the world. Your consciousness is, I guess, your awareness. But the shadow, there's so much more of the shadow than there is, well, in this depiction anyway.
Interesting. This reminds me of I think it was from an Alan Watts video. It could be from somebody else on YouTube, where he said the persona actually comes from the Greek for the masks they used to wear during the theater, because they would project sound out to the audience watching the play or the drama.
Really?
And so it's what you want projected out to others, for others to see the persona, right? And then all that looks like the shadow stuff is probably the stuff that we want to kind of hide.
Wait, there was a mask that would help push the sound out for
in
theater?
ancient Greece, the ancient Greek dramas, like comedies, tragedies, they would have these masks, and they would, I guess the way the mouth was formed, it would kind of project the sound, help the sound project outward, so the audience could hear the actor, or I guess usually actors, they could hear the actor better. Yeah, and it was like the idea, so it would project. It comes from something like, I can't remember the Greek origin, but it's something like the project out. So the persona is what you want to project out. What you want people to see.
It's like a microphone in a way, right? Like it's like
kind of like a microphone, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, like a microphone.
For reasons of adaptation or personal convenience. If you have certain masks you put on in various situations, that is a persona. In essence, it conceals our real self, presenting ourselves as someone different to who we really are. As we please other people with our persona, it leaves our negative traits that contradict our real selves, forming our shadow. The shadow. Jung stated the shadow to be the unknown dark side of the personality. Whereas the contents of the personal unconscious are acquired during an individual's lifetime, the contents of the collective unconscious are invariably archetypes that were present from the beginning. Among the shadow, the anima, and the animus, the most accessible and easiest to experience is the shadow, since it can be retrieved from the contents of the personal unconscious. To be conscious of the shadow, there must be a considerable moral effort recognizing the dark aspects of one's personality as real and present. While some traits of one's own shadow can be recognized, some offer greater resistance to moral control and prove almost impossible to influence.
That is, I heard it, but I didn't quite get it. Did you get it?
Somewhat, but not. I can't say I understood it completely.
Yeah, me neither.
Honestly, I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
To really.
it
I really
seems
think I could explain it.
it seems like the hardest one, because as soon as it pulled up, I'm like, oh, this is the big one, and immediately I heard the words, but I couldn't really get it.
Unknown
Yeah.
dark side of the personality. Whereas the contents of the personal unconscious are acquired during an individual's lifetime, the contents of the collective unconscious are invariably archetypes that were present from the beginning.
Okay.
Among the shadow, the anima, and the animus, the most accessible and easiest to experience is the shadow,
Okay, I see.
since it can be retrieved from the contents of the personal unconscious. To be
Okay, what do you see? What is that?
Yeah.
What does that
So
mean?
okay. So I think so he's dividing the unconscious element into we'll say two layers. One is three. There's the persona, which is what you're showing people, right?
Right.
The mask.
The mask.
The shadow is what that part of yourself that you're kind of hiding away. Could be the stuff you don't really want people to see,
Sure.
and maybe stuff you don't want to see yourself.
Sure.
And then beneath that is this anima animus, which I don't fully understand what those
Gotcha.
are. I've heard Jordan Peterson use them, but
So
I
that's
don't know.
actually under the shadow, the anima
Yeah.
animus. Okay.
The shadow's easier for us to, like, if I wanted to get a grip on myself and understand myself better, the shadow, according to this, is supposedly easier for me to grasp.
To
because it
understand, to be, to
part of me.
witness.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Here we go. All right.
conscious of the shadow, there must be a considerable moral effort recognizing the dark aspects of one's personality as real and present. While some traits of one's own shadow can be recognized, some offer greater resistance to moral control and prove almost impossible to influence. An individual who does not recognize psychological projection, a defense mechanism in which the individual defends himself against the unconscious
Whoa.
impulses denying their existence in himself while attributing them to others, will
That must have took his, there's like 60 years of work. That sounds like something that took a little bit of time to really kind of work through. That's heavy.
I think you're right. I think it took him a long time to get to this.
Wow.
I mean, props to Carl Jung here. I certainly couldn't have come up with this. Well,
Well,
I didn't come up with this myself. And
Perhaps,
time left. So.
perhaps you could have, but the jobs that waste our time, right? I don't know. We don't have the best jobs when we start. If only we could somehow find out what we're really good at, and we could just get aligned with that as early as possible, and then just execute, and then your body of work, like a career. A lot of people have jobs.
You're right, that's true.
But many people don't have careers, but a lot of people have jobs.
I think you're right about that. A lot of people do not have careers in that sense.
No.
They have jobs that they do, but not careers they love.
And that's why people get burned out, because a career means you're actually executing, and colleagues and it's a different level,
recognizing the dark aspects of one's personality as real and present. While some traits of one's own shadow can be recognized, some offer greater resistance to moral control.
Moral control, I don't know. I guess that's your morality, controlling your... it's thick.
I've heard I'm going to use maybe Jordan Peterson's, because he talks about these kind of concepts in his own way too. And from what I heard from him, you need to kind of... This is where I've said it myself. In order to get to know yourself, sometimes you have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and look at the parts of yourself that maybe you're not the proudest of, the parts that are hard to look at, the parts that you want to improve. And that's sort of the shadow work, I think.
I look at it.
Understanding it correctly.
So I look at it a little differently when I've looked in the mirror. I have a giant mirror over there that when I went through something like 13 years ago, I would exercise in it and look at myself every day in this giant mirror, like right in my eyes. Like it's a large mirror. You can see your whole body in it. And I think where a lot of things get lost is it's always like, well, you can get in there and change your perspective. No, you know what I did? I went in there and I thought to myself, I'm like, where are you weak? Where's your weakness? Where's your emotional damage? As far as like if you're like going through something emotionally, like, and you start talking about it with other people, they're not going to help you. Like they ask you how you're doing. They don't really want to help you through your dark. So like somebody you love passes away, man, you're going to go through it. You're going to struggle. You're going to fall to your knees and cry. And like, when you look in the mirror like that, realize that there's a lot more hard than there is like extremely good. And there's so much times you have to like pull yourself up like a Rocky movie, dude. Like you're broken. You're so tired. You can't get out of bed. You can't go anywhere. You don't have enough energy to eat. You're so broken. And those moments are the ones where you're like, that's the thing inside of you that you have to fight that fight yourself. And sometimes inevitably it wins. Like, you can't always win. You can't be 140 years old and have another round in you because you don't even get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's just it. That's like, I mean, to the mirror as a metaphor. Metaphorically, like, I'm not, sometimes I am literally looking at it, but sometimes it's just more, I'm looking within and I'm calling on the kind of courage isn't, oh, I can handle anything no matter what comes at me.
Yeah.
It's more something like, even when I'm feeling down, if I just, let's say I don't want to get out of bed because I've been flattened by the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
The very fact that I got up and got out of bed that morning, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's bravery.
Yeah.
It's like being able to face that really hard moment and saying, you know what, I can do this. It's going to be hard, but if I keep pressing on.
How many times do you say to yourself, like, what are you going to do? And it's just like,
oh God, all the time.
You're faced with this
yeah.
in your life so almost every day as an adult. You're constantly,
yeah.
and then choosing where you put your time. Like me just coming down here to talk to you has a lot of value to me. But I didn't get to put my son to sleep tonight, and he's only 16 months. So there's always, I have a lot of magical moments. I had them with him today. But like, there's always this like sacrifice, this juxtaposition to what you're using in your personal time. You know, it's
you're absolutely right. It's like a constant trade-off game of sorts. And like, okay, what am I trading for the other thing?
Yeah.
And it seems it was Robert, what's his name? Sowell, the economics professor. He said there are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs.
Yeah.
And it's Thomas Sowell, I think it is. And it's true. It's like when you really think about it for like a second or two, it's like, I'm always, you know, these things have value. And I guess I'm guessing at this, the Carl Jung shadow work is find things that truly have value, do those things, you know, and be okay with the choices you make.
Yep.
They're the best choices you could make at the time.
Well, that's why a lot of stuff I said, when you go look in that mirror and you have show that weakness, when you regain strength again, when you regain footing again, if you do it right, you have this immense amount of appreciation. And that gives you a lot of momentum to endure and to fight more. Because it's almost that's why we all love Dragon Ball Z. I mean, come on. Like, the Saiyans are always being defeated, but then they rise again stronger than before. That's why we love the Saiyans. Come on. That's why I love them. I love it. That's how I live my life, you know?
It links a lot, too. It makes sense because it links a lot to, I guess, the Jungian archetype. This cast of characters, the Saiyans, in the case of Dragon Ball Z, they're defeated, but they just keep coming back, and they get stronger. And they grow.
Yep.
And they defeat one class of enemy, and then an even more powerful one comes along, and they get
if you think of like Goku from Dragon Ball Z, to like what he is now, it's insane. Like he's constantly ever stronger. Like he's a god at this point. He's a multiple god.
Ever evolving. Cause you probably remember him from the original Dragon Ball, the little kid.
Oh, I didn't watch. Yeah, Dragon Ball. Sure.
Yeah, from
he's the
way
kid,
back,
and that's the one I don't watch. I mean, I'm nothing against it, but I start with Dragon Ball Z. That's just kind of where I'm at. Well,
Z is when he's like an adult, right? That's when he starts as the adult.
Yeah,
I can't remember where the cutoff is.
We have to do an episode talking about like the psychology of Dragon Ball Z. I'm thinking this now. All right, let's move on to this.
And prove almost impossible to influence. An individual who does not recognize psychological projection, a defense mechanism in which the individual defends himself against the unconscious impulses denying their existence in himself while attributing them to others, will eventually create an illusory environment whereby he changes the world into the replica of his own unknown face. Individual who does not recognize psychological projection.
I didn't have it on the screen. It's worth going back.
A defense mechanism in which the individual defends himself against the unconscious impulses denying their existence in himself while attributing them to others, will eventually create an illusory environment whereby he changes the world into the replica of his own unknown face. The shadow plays an important role in balancing the overall psyche. A weak adaptation of the shadow results in a low level of personality, whereby the individual behaves like a passive victim of his shadow, extremely worried with the opinions of others, a walking persona. People who do not look at their shadows directly project them onto others. The qualities that we often cannot stand in others, we have in ourselves and wish not to see. But to truly grow as a person, one must integrate their shadow and balance it with their persona. It is possible for man to recognize the relative evil of his nature, but it is rare for him to gaze into the face of absolute evil. An encounter with your shadow may appear in dreams, typically as a person of the same sex as you. It depends on the living experience of each individual, rather than being inherited in the collective unconscious. The dissolution of the persona and understanding one's own shadow is a central part of the process of individuation. In terms of the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it must be Jekyll, the conscious personality, who integrates the shadow and not the other way around. Otherwise, you will become the slave of your autonomous shadow. The integration of the shadow...
What does autonomous mean?
Oh, autonomous is like kind of self-governing or self-running, if you will. Yeah, so it governs or runs itself. So it's almost like the shadow. What you don't want is the shadow side, the dark side of your personality to take over, and just run you automatically.
And be
you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
It marks the first stage of the analytical process. Without it, a recognition of anima and animus is impossible. However, the acknowledgement of the shadow must be a continuous process throughout one's life. Anima and animus.
All right, so this is the part I don't quite get. This is below the shadow. So this is sort of like probably some of his work that he did. This is probably some of what he would feel is the most interesting, because you're really like getting deeper into it, you know?
Here you're in it, yeah. And I've heard these terms used, but don't fully understand.
This is what Tool does on that whole album. They talk. But that whole album's kind of like around.
Within the shadow, there exist two contrasexual figures, the anima and the animus. In every man's psyche, there is an unconscious feminine aspect called the anima, which is a personification of all feminine psychological tendencies.
I have to say this. You have my book. You have Metaphorically Released. This stuff is in that book so much, and I didn't even know this. Like, I knew
that's neat
from video games, sort of, but the story I told has so much of this in it, and I wasn't up to date on this. My research was zero. I'm learning more now than I ever really did before.
Right.
And
it's wild, because I think that's why, now I haven't read it yet because I was on vacation, but
Sure.
I think that's why it's such a powerful story.
Yeah.
You told me.
Yep.
I am going to read it too, because this is just
But I say it
wild.
because it comes out of such a subconscious part of my life, and I'll share this. I had this job, and I just left it. I said, "Fuck you," and I took out I took out $5,000 from my 401k, and I just chilled in my apartment. And I just chilled. I just watched the world. I slept in. I just took time. And when this is when I got that mirror. I had that mirror also at the time. I just allowed myself to just be. I was still young. I was fully aware. And I just would tap in every night into this thing and listen to music. And there's so much of this when she talks about that feminine psychological thing that's inside of us. That's a whole character in my story. And I don't know where I came up with that. I just started drawing, listening to music, and just started connecting things. And it's interesting. That's something that would come from me when I didn't even work. I was like, I'm done. And I literally would just be like, this is my time. I am in control of my life. And that's when I kind of made it. And that sounds right. That sounds right. Because I don't think I could have made it if I was under the constraints of a 40-hour week job around people I couldn't stand.
No, I think that was time well spent, you could say.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be proud.
I am super. I'm gonna harp on you, man. You're gonna read it, and we're gonna do the video. If I get a video out of it with you, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
That's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to it. In fact, this weekend I'm probably gonna hit that, because
only take you
else right now,
an hour to read if you actually read it.
Yeah,
but if you read,
also pretty cool.
If you reread the story, which I highly recommend, because I call it Book Plus, the second time you read it, the art makes a lot more sense. You can just look at the art, and you can be like, oh, there you go. So it's a double.
It's the only reason I didn't take it with me on vacation, because being the nature of the copy I have, I did not trust myself. I'm gonna make sure that is secured, you know,
You're-
here.
You're talking about the solitary collector's edition that says it on the spine.
Solitary collector's edition, of which at the moment there are no other copies. And I do not trust myself.
And I'll say it on camera
not to
too.
make a mistake.
That book was expensive. I got a coupon and it still cost like it was like $90 to make that.
It
thing.
looks it, man.
Yeah.
It's I could say just the quality of the book itself.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
It's a little small.
This
And I would love to make it bigger, but it was so expensive.
Oh, that would be neat if it was big. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But it's a good size though for as a book goes. You know, it's not too big.
Yeah.
It's not like too cumbersome, right? Look cool if it was bigger.
I just love when you saw it.
It's not too tiny.
And
know?
when I gave it to you the other week, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is a real book," and I was like, "Yeah, it's
like a serious book.
It's a real book."
Yeah. It's really nice.
I say all this on camera too, so that way, you know, it helps create other videos. It helps get it out there. You know?
Yeah.
While in every woman's psyche, there's an unconscious masculine aspect called the animus.
Okay.
Unlike the feminine
I'm
aspect.
starting to understand. So it's the two feminine energies. It's the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And it would appear that the masculine is in the feminine and the feminine is in the masculine. That's what
it's almost like the
anima.
internal yin and yang of sorts, where for every man has an anima and every woman, every female has an animus. Let's
Gotcha.
say.
The anima
Sort of
and the animus. In every man's psyche, there is an unconscious feminine aspect called the anima, which is a personification of all feminine psychological tendencies. While in every woman's psyche, there is an unconscious masculine aspect called the animus. Unlike the shadow, which represents the personal unconscious, through which its content can be made conscious, the anima and animus are much further away from consciousness and are seldom realized. Man's anima is characterized by the feminine eros. It is passive like a child seeking the protecting and nourishing charmed circle of the mother, while woman's animus corresponds to the paternal logos, the principle of rationality. When man is integrating the anima, it becomes the eros, giving way to a more caring figure. When a woman is integrating the animus, it becomes the logos, giving woman a capacity for assertiveness and deliberation. The anima appears in dreams, visions, and fantasies, taking on a personified form. She is a spontaneous product of the unconscious, and not a substitute figure for the mother, present in every man. There are thoughts, feelings, and effects alive in us which we would never have believed possible. This seems like utter fantasy.
I suppose it means that a masculine man has the capacity to be extremely feminine and have those qualities that are assigned to motherhood, or, you know.
It sounds like it. Yeah, like he's capable, whether he realizes it or not, of the kinds of feelings, emotions, thoughts, characteristics that are typically associated with feminine. Yeah. So
and then a woman,
motherhood, caring, that kind of thing.
woman could be more of, you know, open the door first, walk in, say, hey, I need this, give it to me, walk out the door, get, you know, get the taxi and be out. You know?
I'm taking charge, like the stereotypically masculine. I'm taking charge. Yep, I'm gonna be assertive. I'm gonna get what I need from this world. Give me that cab. I want one of those.
And when it's together, I guess that what was it? The eros. It's a whole. It's both feminine and masculine, but they're like a yin and yang where they each have a drop or they have a part of each other, which makes a whole, a big whole.
Exactly. At least that's how I understand it. It's almost like they're balancing agents to our conscious and unconscious, the first layer of the unconscious nature,
so
personal unconscious.
I would assume if you would separate yourself out of your body and go back to source would be more rounded, and you wouldn't have it would just be complete. More things are complete. So, you know, it's not.
That's how I imagine it. Yeah. Let's say it's the balance of all things. So ever changing, ever moving, but ever present. You could say. So, I guess, if somehow I could separate my conscious mind and reconnect with it, it'd probably be like perfectly balanced.
And then on the top of that, I guess that the way you would learn is you would like take the pieces of the pieces of the puzzle out, and then you could have fragments of it which could be experienced, and then therefore it makes the whole stronger if each of the parts are you know what I mean? Like it's like a full thing. That's interesting. I never quite thought of it all like that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, it seems kind of fascinating. Yeah, just hearing it explained like this.
Yeah.
I never went this deep into this.
Sure. And you know what? And they were like, oh, going deep. It's like, yeah, man. When you have a person's body work that's 60 years deep, you're going deep. You're going to college. You're going to
exactly.
You're going to the knowledge school. You know, it's just what it is. Well, that was super dope. We recorded a whole segment that we're going to turn into shorts. That's going to be fantastic. And then we also have the long format video here. Thank you so much for going deep with me, man. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. This is a great journey. It's a good one.
All right, and with that, we're out.